my boss came to me last year. He says, who do we have that's on the cover of, Computer World? Who do we have that when you go to the Python conference, they're presenting, or in fact, even better, somebody's giving them an award for whatever it is they did? And I go, got no one. But boss, I got a lot of good people. But his question is, do you have any great people? And unfortunately, the answer is, I said, no, I don't. I mean, we're in Cleveland, for God's sakes. I didn't say that. Okay, you can't say that to the CEO. That's almost like the kiss of death. But in fact, we had another example where we have a gentleman, let's call him Fred, and he's doing one of the crappiest jobs in the company. This guy is supporting mass emailing software. I mean, it's the bottom of the barrel. And Fred, does an okay job. But he's not one of the stars. And so my boss says, get rid of him and get a person in there who's an expert. I said, well, that expert isn't going to want to do that job. His reply was, well, that guy will be able to do that job in half the time, and then go around and go do something else. Okay? That's a problem. Okay? Come on in, gentlemen. Come on in. We're going to be here for a while. Let me make up your mind for you. Have a seat. For those of you who are just joining us, we're talking about innovation. And the points I've tried to make before, and I could ask the audience because they've all been very attentive, is that it is one of the critical things in any company or business in terms of positioning your company for growth. And I'm here to try to convince you that anybody in the IT area has a role to play. And the more we know, the better off you and probably your company is going to be. And now you're up to snuff. So, okay, what do we do? And there's a suggestion up there. If you're in management, you better be doing this. If you're one of the people who really do work, you ought to be thinking about yourself in this context. Get yourself training. You got to fight for it. You got to get out there. It's training and exposure to the outside. That's how we fight inbreeding. This gentleman here and I were talking about the recent Python conference where he linked up with some people from our company. The reason those guys are out there is to steal ideas. I make no bones about it. That's why they're there. They're there to get into the community and to steal everything they can to come back and apply it. My rule is, if I send you out to a training class or a conference, you can go again next year if you can demonstrate that you paid for your trip by having to come back and apply something. That's what we want to do. You've got to, for your own self, fight for that education, fight for that opportunity to get out there and get exposed to this stuff. There's a wonderful community out there, particularly in the open source, for those of you like myself, okay, who are very much open source advocates, that's out there in community that you can learn from. Fight for that as an individual. If you're in any kind of management, you need to do that for your people. They may not become experts, but you're sure as heck going to get a reward on your investment in their time if you can send them out. But many times you'll find that it's up to you as an individual to make that case because the first thing that goes when money's tough and money's tight is the travel budget, the training budget. Okay, that's part of the problem, and we're going to get to that in a little bit of what the problem is. By the way, if you are an A player, okay, an A player is anybody out there to me that is a regional or nationally recognized for something that they do. That is a good thing. How you do that? It's by being innovative. That's my my advice to you. Anybody can be innovative, and as an individual. Okay, so what's next? What's wrong? It's methodology. So this is one of the killers that anybody in management, when they go into a new company, the first thing they usually criticize, other than their predecessor, is the lack of methodology. So they work real hard, and they come up with a methodology. This is your development practices. And so finally, you get to the point where you and your cohorts are all working together because we all have this approach, right? And since everybody knows what to do, we get a lot done. And you're very effective because we're churning out the next thing. That's a good thing about having a methodology. Great thing to have. Here's a problem. And it's up there. It's the flexibility. And you don't take risks. You have no incentive to deviate from that methodology. In fact, if you do, you're probably penalized. But it's easy to fall in the trap. You go out, and the larger, I submit to you, the larger the corporation, the more emphasis it will be on a standardized methodology, and deviation from the methodology is discouraged. And what that means is you're going to just do a replication of the thing that the guy did last time. And you're not going to be innovative. It is a kiss of death to innovation. And I can tell you, a little bit of shame, but okay, this is what has happened in where I work. We kind of woke up one day and said, gee, we're real proud of ourselves. We can knock out projects on time, on budget, like nobody else. But we're doing just that. And we're doing it in a way just to get it done. That's a problem. So what do? Well, there's some suggestions up there. When I talk about slow learners, that's a quote from a book that I'll put up a little bit later in the presentation. These people aren't slow from the standpoint that they just don't get it. But these are people who challenge the system. We have a guy whose name is Scott in our organization. Scott is viewed as a gadfly and a gnat, okay? Because he questions everything you want him to do. Now, Scott's only problem is that he does it in a way that makes him, nobody wants to speak with him. You can challenge all in a good way and a bad way. Scott's problem is that he doesn't seem to have understood that difference, and so he just is Scott, and nobody wants to talk to him. But Scott is important to the organization because you know that no matter what you propose, Scott's going to come up with a reason why it won't work. And you want that. You really do, as long as it's done in the right way. But I encourage you to be that person, not be Scott, but be the person that challenges it. That's gonna help you be on the track toward the innovation. Tweak the prioritization rules. Usually in companies, you've got this nice process, again, all part of methodology, that lets you decide what to do. We're going to do this project first because it's got the better ROI or net present value or whatever, over the other ones. And there's these things at the bottom that you just never seem to get to. And a lot of times it's stuff that would improve internal IT. Somebody's got to have the guts to just say, we're going to do this project because even though it doesn't shake out from a prioritization standpoint, we need to do it in order to get better. We need to take the time, not just to put out the next widget or the next functional enhancement, whatever it is. We need to be able to get out there and do things better than we are. This is where the management's got to step up to it and break the rules. You're always under the gun. Somebody's got to have the guts to say, no, we're going to take the time out and we're going to actually think creatively on how to handle this situation. Somebody's got to have the guts to say, you know, we're accumulating crap. It's time to cut that out and do it right. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, and that's why there are only very few companies mentioned, like in Forbes, for their top innovative companies, and there's only a couple because only a couple have the guts to do it. Okay, good control. This is similar to methodology in that you make a commitment. It's going to be done on time, on budget, and it's done. Boom. People can count on you to do the right thing. It's not really true. They can count on you to do the thing that they asked you to do. But in particular, in the business where I'm in the mobile space and the internet space, a couple of you may remember the phrase internet speed. Okay? That was to differentiate it from the way corporate America worked. It was faster. It was. I know, I lived it. I got news for you. Mobile. Putting ringtones on your phones, putting graphics on your phone, it's 3 times faster than internet speed. You really have to move fast. Time is your enemy. And it's also an enemy of innovation. Because you have to get it done in this amount of time. We only have this amount of time for analysis. We only have this amount of time for design because we've got to get it done. There is no opportunity in that kind of mode to be creative. You have the gun to your head. That's a problem. And, you know, to do some self-analysis, that's what we found out. We stifled creativity. We stifled innovation in our shop. So what do? There it is. You got to force it. Here again, somebody just says, we're going to take the time. Somebody has to have the guts to come up and say, we keep doing it like this, we're going to keep just getting marginal things, and that's not what's going to help the business grow. We're looking for that innovation. Remember back on an earlier slide? It's that epiphany. It's that leap. You can only get a leap if you have the ability to think in leaps and bounds. Force it. The parallel tracks, we had a project where we decided, okay, we're just going to put it on its normal track. And then we took another team and put them on a parallel track and said, beat them. Do it different. Okay? Take it a little longer if you have to for some areas, but in the end, try to meet this, try to be innovative. And we did. Took a lot of guts. Didn't really work. But that wasn't the point. The point was, it was one of our very earliest attempts to try to change our culture. Culture is one of the biggest problems that's an inhibitor to innovation. Your bottom line, I don't know here, it's you got to meet the quarter, or the month, or the year. It's always meet something. And innovation is not on that list of something that you got to meet. It takes a lot of guts to be innovative. The uncomfortables are like Scott, but I have another example. I started a new group recently, and one of the things I did was go out and hire a young lady